I'm a little fucked up, but will you take care of me forever and ever?
Anthony Joshua has that kind of speed. That is the kind of
With
thing.
252 pounds.
If you don't have the skill to get away from that kind of power, what happens is Francis Ngannou and Anthony Joshua. You have to be you can't judge that guy based on Dubois, who's a murderer. Daniel Dubois is a tank, and he took out Joshua, but that guy's terrifying. You're staring in front of that guy, but Usyk didn't stand in front of him. Usyk moved all over the place. Joshua's, and he's gonna have a lot to prove. He's gonna be very angry.
The better man won. On to bigger, better things for AJ in 2026.
Where does Jake go from here? Should he fight cruiserweights, no heavyweights anymore?
Yeah, I think he'll be better at cruiserweight, but he made a good account of himself. He boxed well, but if that's your game plan, you got to be able to do that for 8 rounds, not 3.
Hey, what's your reaction?
It happened what it needed to happen. What it was supposed to happen happened tonight. Jake Paul, credit to him. He survived for 4 rounds, but I mean, we kind of knew what was gonna happen.
But where does Jake go from here? He showed a lot of heart.
I mean, he did show a lot of heart, but again, he didn't land many combinations. He ran for 4 rounds. He ran around the ring for 4 rounds. He got tired and he got knocked out. It's part of boxing. A lot of experience in the other side, obviously. And again, what needed to happen happened.
So where does he go from here? Does he take on?
Jake Paul can still do a lot of things, but you know it's different when you fight MMA fighters than when you fight real fighters in the boxing ring.
Absolutely, well, he showed a lot of heart. Now, what about Anthony Joshua? They're talking about him and Tyson Fury going to a matchup. The fight is bigger now, right?
Man, I hope so. I hope it happens. It's a fight that a lot of people have been wanting for the longest, so I'm excited for 2026.
Talk to your fans in Puerto Rico. What's going to happen on January 31st?
Man, January 31st, Puerto Rico and the world is going to see the youngest unified world champion. So I'll see you guys soon.
Jakey boy, man. Jake Paul, man. What's my thought on the fight? What is Andre Dirrell's thought on the fight? Forget my thought on the fight. This is my thought for Jake Paul, or on Jake Paul. Now, I was wrestling with what was going to happen in this fight, right? Because I knew Anthony Joshua could have took him out anytime he wanted to, right? I knew he didn't have nothing for Anthony Joshua. I knew it. There was no shot he could have landed, and he was looking for that overhand right like we all seen and suspected. Didn't work out. Slowly gassed him out. The more he fell, the more I knew it was getting tired and it was over for him eventually. I knew the round it was gonna end up ending, and it ended up happening, right?
Now that Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua have finally shared the ring, the talk shifts from hype to hindsight. Before the first punch, experts had strong opinions on how this would end. Some expected a quick finish, others warned of surprises. Let's look back and see how close those predictions really were after the final bell and official result landed. Tom Aspinall focused heavily on size and boxing habits when breaking down the outcome. He felt Joshua's biggest advantage was not just power, but knowing how to control range with straight punches. He thought Jake could avoid danger early by staying mobile, but once Joshua found his timing, the gap would show fast. In his view, Jake lasting a little while did not mean he was competitive.
So we have to talk about the size of the boys. Anthony Joshua, huge human being, 6'6", fighting Jake Paul. He's quite big in his own right, 6'1", but the size difference is massive, especially like Jake Paul's been fighting cruiserweight, fought below that as well. Anthony Joshua is a natural heavyweight, 245 pounds plus, 6'6". Jake Paul obviously a lot shorter, but one of the advantages that we've seen for Jake Paul in this fight, when Anthony Joshua fought Anthony Ruiz, he's fought him twice. In the first fight particularly, Anthony Joshua was making himself a lot smaller than he actually is. In the second fight, he did improve on it a little bit more. He wasn't using that long, stiff jab and the long, stiff 1-2 that he's got. He was a lot of the time coming down to his kind of size. So is he going to do that in this fight? I don't know. But if he does, that's where Jake Paul will look to throw a few hooks over the top and catch.
He also pointed out the only real opening Jake might have had. Aspinall believed Joshua sometimes chose to trade when he did not need to, and that could invite risk. Still, he felt Joshua's background meant he would recognize that danger quickly. Because of that, Aspinall leaned toward a controlled finish rather than chaos.
Joshua does let his ego take hold a little bit and get dragged into a scrap sometimes. That's what he did against Ruiz in the first fight. That's what he did against Dubois when he fought him a couple of fights ago. So sometimes you start seeing Anthony Joshua get hit with the punches, and he likes to trade a little bit too much, which is where Jake Paul could potentially have some success. That being said, as I said, boxing pedigree, Olympic champion, doesn't get much higher. Two-time world heavyweight champion, fought all the best guys barring Tyson Fury. He knows what it's like to be in there, under the pressure, against these big, massive guys who are big, massive punchers, and he knows how to ride the shots, he knows how to finish a fight. Once he gets guys hurt, Anthony Joshua is absolutely clinical. Big guy, super athletic, loads of power, and he should win pretty easily, but this is combat sports.
When it came to the final call, Aspinall expected Jake to make it past the opening round, but only by surviving. He predicted Joshua would take a round or two to close distance, then end it decisively. In his mind, this was never about if Joshua would win, only how long it would take.
I would say Jake Paul's going to be on his bike for the first 2 or 3 rounds. It'll be hard for Anthony Joshua to get to him because he won't be doing a lot back. He'll just be jabbing and moving. And when a big, massive guy fights a smaller guy who's a little bit more nimble, it is hard to get to him. But I would say Joshua stoppage in the 3rd or 4th round.
So you are, Tom Aspinall is on record to say Jake Paul will make it out of the 1st round.
I think Jake Paul will make it out of the 1st round, yeah, I do. But I think he'll be surviving.
MMA Guru focused a lot on nerves and body language. He thought Jake's joking and loose behavior before the fight was not confidence, but stress showing itself. In his mind, Jake knew what was coming and was masking it by acting playful, while Joshua looked relaxed because he understood the task was simple.
But I kind of respect that it is in his last hours, in his final hours, this is how Jake Paul is acting. He's tiny compared to AJ. He's making like a joke out of it. I think he's trying to make a joke out of this because that's how nervous he is. I don't think he's just so brave and thinks he's gonna win that there's like this confidence within him that you gotta respect the confidence of Jake Paul. I don't even think that's the situation here. I think he's just so nervous about what's gonna happen that this is his way of like disguising it with this kind of activity.
When breaking down how the fight would actually play out, he believed Jake might survive the opening round by moving and staying light. That survival to him was the best case scenario. Once Joshua settled in and started landing clean shots, he expected the fight to turn ugly very fast.
Anyone can look pretty technical and fast on the pads if you're 150 pounds or something like that. He's a pretty big guy. And he's definitely improved. You know, this is the improvements that he made. On the top slide, you can see the improvements. God, I can't minimize this. Hang on a second. Oh, for fuck's sake. The top side has the improvements, and this is him side by side. Definite improvements have been made. There's a good chance that maybe, just maybe, he's going to be small and light enough to land a couple of decent shots and then take this to like round 3. But that's his best bet. His best bet is round 3. I'm watching this on a Fight Companion. I have to be there for this. I need to see it. If Jake Paul pulls this off and I'm not live to give my reaction, I'm not there watching, I'll never forgive myself. I'll never forgive myself if he somehow pulls this off. If he gets demolished and flatline KO'd, which I think will happen by round 2 or 3. It's gonna go everywhere.
He expected Jake to be dropped hard and finished within the first few rounds, most likely by round 2 or 3. He felt the knockout would go viral and change how people viewed Jake's boxing future going forward.
You're gonna see live on Twitter, Jake Paul viciously knocked out in round 3. That's what I think is gonna happen. I think he's gonna do all right in round 1, AJ will kind of like ease into the fight a little bit, and then afterwards he'll be like, you know what, he's actually a lot faster than I thought he was going to be, you know. And he's going to have a bit of speech like that. And you know what, shout out to Jake Paul, he's doing his thing. And he's going to give a bit of a speech and shout him out and say he was actually quite hard to track down at first, and I had to adjust and I had to kind of think. He's going to give him props for like the good of boxing to try and keep Jake Paul afloat. Round 2, I think Jake's going to go down. And here's his only saving grace that I think might happen. I reckon he like fights back after a knockdown. That's what I think. I think he's going to get knocked down in round 2. Pretty bad. Get back up and like swing back when AJ's teeing off in the pocket. They make it to maybe the end of round 2. If he gets knocked out at the end of round 2, that's when it happens. And in round 3, AJ just puts him away.
When it came to Brian Davis from the Pain game, he did think Jake's biggest goal was survival, not winning. Brian broke it down as a question of whether Jake could last without taking serious damage. He believed Jake might move early and try to stay out of danger, but he did not see any real path where Jake could apply pressure or change the flow. Offense from Jake, in his eyes, was always going to be limited and mostly hopeful.
And look, everyone is just expecting Jake Paul to get annihilated in this fight, as he should. And what I want to kind of ask in today's video is, like, what can Jake Paul do? Can he survive for any meaningful length of time? Can he do anything offensively? And I think before I go into that, I just do have to give some fucking credit, like, because I slated Jake Paul when he went in there and beat up old man Mike Tyson, and I was frustrated at the lack of high quality opponents. And we all have to accept that this just takes massive balls. Yeah, he's getting paid a shitload for it. The kid's got enough money. We have to acknowledge the courage that he is showing here. And financially, I think this is a very smart move from Jake Paul if you ignore the brain trauma bit.
When it came to the ending, Brian predicted intervention would be necessary. He expected either the referee or Jake's corner to step in once things turned ugly. In his mind, this was not about rounds or scorecards. It was about protecting Jake once Joshua started landing clean shots, which he believed would happen very early.
Here's my only thought about how this can end and Jake Paul not end up in serious fucking pain, if he even knows what the fuck day it is. The minute AJ gets him up against that rope and he starts uncorking those thunderous fucking shots, I think they're going to throw the towel in really, really quickly. Everyone will know, like, as in the referee will probably be ready to call it off early. The referees are supposed to, you know, let it go to a certain point, but they're going to be a lot quicker to step in for Jake Paul because they're aware that this is a mismatch. And if that doesn't happen, the fucking towels will be coming in super quick. And that is my opinion on how they get Jake Paul out of this situation with his fucking brain intact.
Biddle Riley and Leon Wills both treated the fight as something that only made sense because of money, not danger. Riley was clear that the fight only became tricky if Joshua lost focus. He believed the real risk was not Jake's skill, but Joshua choosing to get emotional once he heard him. If Joshua tried to enjoy it too much or turn it into a statement moment, that was when hooks and wild shots from Jake could sneak in. He felt discipline was the key difference between a clean win and unnecessary danger.
No, I don't think. The only thing that makes this fight more difficult than it needs to be is AJ hitting him with the initial punch, him seeing Jake feel like, bro, and then decides to turn it into something.
So, yeah,
that's the only way danger occurs.
He needs to understand the mission.
If he bangs Jake in his nose, busts his nose, and he goes, yeah, I'm glad you know that bust your nose and you're gonna get knocked out soon. Then we're all in for a treat.
Yeah.
But if he goes, rah, true say, man, I was not even, let me just allow.
Yeah, let me allow. Yeah.
You do that? That's when the overhands start coming out from this guy.
Both expected Joshua to rely on basics rather than force anything. They thought the right approach was simple pressure, a steady jab, and clean power shots without rushing. They believed Jake would try to move, troll, and survive early, but once Joshua stayed patient and cut the ring properly, the size and strength gap would take over. To them, this was about execution, not talent. Their final expectation was clear. They believed Jake would show courage and effort, but still get stopped. They did not expect a long fight or a competitive one on the cards. In their eyes, if Joshua failed to finish Jake convincingly, it would raise serious questions. A strong stoppage was not just expected, it was necessary for boxing to keep its order. Michael Bisping strongly leaned toward Joshua ending things fast. He felt the idea of Joshua taking his time made no sense, given what was at stake if anything went wrong. He believed Joshua would look to shut it down early to avoid chaos, embarrassment, or freak moments. For Bisping, this was not about building rounds. It was about making a statement as soon as the fight started. He also made it clear he did not buy into Jake Paul's confidence. Bisping saw Jake's talk as part of the show rather than real belief. He felt Jake knew the level he was stepping into and was leaning into promotion to stay relevant. In his eyes, this confidence did not translate into an actual path to winning once real punches started landing. When giving his final outlook, Bisping expected a brutal outcome. He believed if Joshua trained properly and stayed locked in, the fight would not last long at all. His prediction leaned toward a first-round finish or very early stoppage, with Joshua overwhelming Jake before he could settle. He felt anything else would have been shocking. Tim Welch leaned toward a very rough night for Jake Paul. He felt Jake's best weapon was his overhand right, but he believed Joshua had already seen that punch in every possible form during his career. Because of that, he did not expect Joshua to panic or fall into traps. Instead, he thought Joshua would stay calm and eventually land something heavy that Jake could not absorb. A big part of Tim's prediction focused on damage, not just who wins. He believed this fight carried real risk for Jake and could change him long term if it went badly. He expected Joshua's weight and power to show through the gloves in a way Jake had never felt before. That is why he felt the corner might need to step in if things started to slide. By the end, Welch's outlook was clear. He did not expect Jake to win, but he felt surviving or reaching a decision would almost count as a victory for him. Anything beyond that would shock him. These were the predictions from the experts before the fight, each offering their own take on how it would all play out. But now that the dust has settled, what about you? Did your favorite fighter come out on top, or did things turn out differently than you expected? Share your thoughts and tell us who you had winning in the comments below.